Hi guys, Black is here. I have a video where I talk about the SS Impala, the front wheel drive Impala SS. It's got the 5.3 V8. You know, some time ago I found out, I think it was last year, I believe, I found out that it used a 4T65 or 60 or whatever front wheel drive transmission. It did not use the North Star automatic transmission. I was surprised. I just assumed it used the North Star. Well, anyway, I made a video talking about that this transmission would last longer if people were to drop the pan and change the filter. Just say if you bought a brand new, drop the pan and change the filter at probably about 50,000 miles. Okay, a lot of people tell me, oh no, that's not true. The transmission is too weak for the engine. Whatever. These people don't build transmissions. They don't have any videos of them checking the transmission fluid, but they want to tell me about a transmission. An ex-neighbor of mine called me today. We was talking about some stuff, and he told me his old, I think he got an '07 Monte Carlos. It's got the 3.5 liter V6. Okay, he bought the car used, I think he said it had 70,000 miles when he bought it, I think. And I told him that at the time, I had a 2001 Chevy Venture that had the 4-speed automatic, which was just about the same transmission, I think. Well, anyway, I told him, I said, man, you need to drop the pan, change the filter. And he saw me drop the pan, change the filter. But, you know, you can't tell anybody to drop the pan, change the filter because they just not going to listen. People believe that if the transmission is running good, to leave it alone, okay? Also, he saw me drop the pan, scared the crap out of me. I hear my neighbor hollering at his dog out there. Scared the crap out of me. Anyway, as I was saying, there was a female who bought I don't know, it was a 98 Bonneville with a 3.8 V6. Had pretty much that same transmission. May not be the exact, but it's a 4T60 whatever, front wheel drive transmission. Now, she bought the car at 180-some thousand miles. It was 188. And I told her, let me drop the pan, change the filter. They told her, leave it alone, leave the transmission alone. He gonna mess it up. Well, I dropped the pan, changed the filter, and by the way, I took some of the fluid and tried to pull through the filter. The filter was stopped up. I mean, it was restrictive anyway, but it bagged up when I poured fluid through. But the car ran fine. Transmission shifted fine. I never did floor it either before or after because old transmission like that, I don't like to floor them. I let it in his mind. But anyway, she had no problem with her car. I mean, she had it several years before she moved away. But anyway, I tried to tell him, he didn't want to hear me. So his transmission finally stopped pulling, okay? He took it somewhere, got it rebuilt, and it ran fine. So after a few years, I asked him, well, you gonna drop the pan and change the filter? Oh, no, it ran fine, leave it alone. Okay, cool. You know, your car, you do what you want. Well, now the transmission has stopped pulling again. Now, it's been some years later, but, and the funny thing I said, let me guess, you never dropped the pan, change the filter, right? He says, well, actually, I did it 2 weeks before it went out. It was running fine till I changed the fluid, and then it went out. And I'm like, man, come on, man. First of all, man, I tried to get you to change the fluid before, you wouldn't do it. So you waited until something went wrong, then you decided to change it. No, it running. It ran a little funny, but it was pulling fine. No, when it started to slip, when you noticed that it was slipping, it was too late. Then you drop the pan, change the filter, and it lasted 2 weeks. That's not because it didn't stop pulling because you changed the filter. It stopped pulling because you waited too damn long. You should have dropped the pan and changed the filter maybe a couple years after you got it. Because the guy drives like me. He put his foot in it. But again, people just don't want to hear it. You know, they have grown up. My father told me the same dumb stuff. Don't ever change the transmission fluid in the transmission because you'll mess it up. My mother had school, but he used to say all the time, don't change that transmission fluid, you're going to mess it up. And I'm like, wait a minute, we changed the oil. So the transmission has a filter in it. So why wouldn't we change it? No, it'll mess it up, it'll mess it up. And I'm like, even when I was a kid, that didn't make sense. And it's 100% not true. So why is it that people say when they change the transmission fluid, the transmission go out 2 weeks later? Because they wait too long. They wait too long. Most people don't know their transmission is slipping until it stops damn pulling, okay? And then they change the filter, change the fluid, and it right about 2 weeks, and it goes out. Sometimes one guy changed, his transmission was slipping so bad, I changed his fluid, it don't last 1 day. But before I changed it, he couldn't even drive it. It was slipping so bad. Well, let me change it. He could drive it, but it was slipping so bad he could barely touch the gas, or it started slipping. When I dropped the pan, changed the filter, you could step on the gas maybe 15%, but then it would start slipping. Now, so what's so special about changing the transmission filter? If you notice, I always say the filter. Okay, a lot of people think they hear the term change the transmission fluid and they think, well, I gotta change the transmission fluid because the additive, what is it? The additive, the viscosity and all that stuff, it wears out over time. No, it does not. It does not. I don't care what Scotty Kim, South Main Auto, any other famous YouTuber says, they all don't know what the hell they're talking about when it comes to transmissions. If you ask, none of them build transmission. Scotty would tell you, I don't build transmission. I take it to I got a expert friend. He builds them though. But the point is, you don't build them. So you don't know what you're talking about. Getting back to it. That van I bought, first of all, let me just tell you this before I forget, because this was the whole purpose of this video. GM sells some hellified brakes on their cars, okay? Bear with me, I'm getting to the point. When you buy a new GM, especially a truck, your front brake pads may last at least 100,000 miles. Some of them I've heard going 130,000 miles. So why does the brake pads last so long? They're hard. They're very expensive. For my Trailblazers, I think the pads are $220. $220. I've never bought them. I just checked the price one day. It's $220. Now, what that has to do with transmission, you say? I'm getting there. When GM build a new transmission, or when they sell you a new transmission, they put high performance clutches in there. Not necessarily high performance, but they put good clutches inside the transmission. My 96 Tahoe went 285,000 miles on the original transmission. When I decided to rebuild it, it was still drivable. I could have drove it to California and back. So why did I need to rebuild it? Because it had lost engine braking. And when you stomp the gas, you give it 75% or more throttle, it will slip going to second and slip going to third. Turns out after I took the transmission apart, the forward clutch housing had a crack in it. It was losing pressure, and that's why it lost engine braking. It would slip going to second and slip going to third. That's why. But getting back to it, they put high dollar clutches inside those transmissions when they build them from the factory, okay? When you take it to anybody, any transmission shop, whatever, They don't buy those same high dollar clutches. They go out and buy cheap clutches and they put them inside your transmission, okay? When you drive your car, the car runs fine. It runs fine, and depending on the transmission and how you drive or whatever, it may last 3 to 5 years. It may. But after about maybe 20 or 30,000 miles, you need to drop the pan and change the filter. If you can change the filter. If you can't change the filter, just keep driving. My Cadillac, North Star, for instance, I cannot change the filter, so I just drive it. The transmission runs fine. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it. I put, I don't know, about 20,000 miles on it or whatever. But my Trailblazer, for instance, I got the transmission rebuilt last year, late to middle last year. When I get 20,000 miles, maybe 25, I'm going to drop the pan and change the filter. Why? Because the transmission shop that rebuilt the transmission to probably put those same cheap clutches inside that transmission. Because they're cheap, they probably create a lot of dust, which will plug up the filter and which will kill the transmission quicker than a normal GM would. You know, back when Ford Taurus came out, the first Ford Taurus, Ford had a problem with transmission. They had a problem with transmission. Transmission will only go about 80, 90,000 miles before they go out. GM transmission, you know, I don't know this for sure, but they wasn't the same transmission, but they look like they could be related, you know? The way they made, they look like they could be related. Well, GM transmission, Ford had more clutches than GM's. Ford had more clutches inside their clutch pack than GM. And that's the reason why I believe the Ford didn't last that long. And also, their filters may have been a little more stocked up quicker because of those clutches. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's my speculation. But getting back to it, that's what you need to do. If you have an SS Impala with that 5.3, drop the pan to change the filter. The transmission is strong enough to handle the power. This is Dre. Y'all have a good day. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. Y'all have a good night.